Was today a bit of a panic selling day? What happens? Will LIC on the last day perhaps put in a bid at 150, 155, 160 per share? We don't know. But that really is the ultimate game here. What will LIC do along with other institutions? Prakash Diwan is joining us now. Prakash, good afternoon. So if you were holding Vedanta today, would you buy more in this panic, or would you be looking at the exit door?
Good afternoon, Anuj. Yes, I fully agree. This is, there's so much discussion and deliberation around this, and it's difficult to second guess what a large institutional investor is going to do, and that too towards the end of tomorrow. So I would believe that today's fall is actually an opportunity for people who really probably don't have it, because there is a clear arbitrage in the making of sorts. Because you buy at 126, 127. You land up with, let's say, 140, 145 kind of a price. It's not a bad deal just for that short period that you're doing. Because essentially, there has been so much of, the quantity of share that is tender right now is insignificant. And if that were to be any indication, I think it would be unfair to go by that. I would go by the large valuation-based methodology that probably is going to make more sense. And from that angle, even if the share has an intrinsic value of about 185, 190 and you discount it to the tune of 20%, it would still land you up at that 140, 145 zone. So I would believe there is that arbitrage, and the dip has actually been very beneficial for some of the people who are sitting on the fences and were not too sure what to do when it was already at 137, 138. So I think it's still an opportunity. There is a good 1 day left for you to act upon it, and do it coolly, do it calmly. Don't kind of let the noise distract you from the opportunity that is there.
Okay, so you can still buy and look to tender and hopefully at a good price. That's the advice coming in from Prakash. Prakash, I want to talk to you about the other big point of worry today for the market, and that's obviously what Bajaj Finance said. The fact that they've lost a little bit of market share, that AUM growth number is, there's hardly any growth actually. So is this a passing phenomena, or could this be the trigger of perhaps a bigger derating?
Yes, Surbhi, an indication from a company like Bajaj is something that you need to take seriously. Had it been some other player, I could have probably discounted it, saying, it's potentially just a little bit of a overreaction on the part of the management. But this is one management that has been very candid about the way the business is shaping up. So my sense is there is a little bit of a market shift that's happening from what Bajaj Finance used to almost monopolize in terms of the consumer durable segment to some of the other banks which have got aggressive. And look at the kind of communication, the marketing communication that's coming out of HDFC Bank. They are trying to do an encore of what they did last year in terms of the festive sales. And if that were to be any indication, at the top, there is definitely a little bit of a churn that's happening. And Bajaj Finance could probably be facing a little bit of a resistance. And that's dual. The vector out there is, one is demand contraction, and the second is they are probably being cautious as well, and probably upping their risk profile of borrowers and not wanting to just go all out for the sake of revenue growth. So I think that could probably be the explanation, and the festive season is something which we'll have to live through to see whether there's really any festivity in terms of this buying. But my vote is on the fact that it could probably slide closer to 3,000 levels, and then that's where it kind of offers a much better risk reward as compared to the kind of run up that we've seen. The run up has been too sharp, flight to safety, large cap play, recovery expectations. All of that was priced in very optimistically. So I think 3,000, 3,100 could be the zone to look at it, and it would be very real. I wouldn't be surprised if it were to slide down.
Okay, well, that's on Bajaj Finance. Before we take a break, just want to address one more topic. Let's pull out some stocks. First is ONGC, of course. That's where we are expecting that there would be, like Lakshman's been pointing out through the day about on the gas pricing. So that's, of course, the one that benefits ONGC and Oil India. On the other hand, you have stocks like basically the users of the gas. You have GAIL, which is down. You have IGL, which is down. And you have Mahanagar Gas, MGL, which is down. So all these three names. And the street's been fearing something like this on names like IGL and MGL. Even though it's a pass-through, but some of these stocks are down. Now, Prakash, what would be your view on names like IGL and MGL at current levels?
So we spoke about this a couple of days back when they chose to pass on the price reduction that was there. But now this kind of sets the cat amongst the pigeon by saying, okay, there is a free pricing mechanism that's coming in. So I think it's too early to believe that this is going to be very competitively unfavorable for the city gas distribution. The kind of expansion that they've done, I keep on saying, and I've seen this on the ground, Anuj, that MGL has been able to expand its last mile reach even in this lockdown much more efficiently, and that is going to make up for any kind of a reduction in price-led volumes, because the volumes would kind of come from more connections, more consumption, and that in essence is going to be a set-off. So I don't think there's anything wrong if ONGC and Oil India were to be allowed to do what they are doing. In fact, it would be a good opportunity to buy into some of these stronger players, because they're almost monopolistic in some of the geographies, like MGL in the west, IGL towards the north, and then in between you have a Gujarat gas thrown in. So I believe it's quite positive, and it's one of those most resilient pockets that you could look at adding to the portfolio at this stage.
Okay, we need to take a break, but before we do that, just pull out the intraday chart of Wipro. Has a massive big green bar which is visible on Wipro, and remember, this is a stock which has been in some kind of a bull market. It went through a bit of a consolidation, but now I think there's a fresh breakout which is visible on Wipro, and I think the market, of course, is betting on, like we discussed yesterday as well, as Wipro, as one of the companies which will consider buyback going forward. But this is a big move which is on right now as far as Wipro stock is concerned. Look at that. In fact, let me see if there's another, if other IT stocks are following suit, or it's just Wipro specific, because there is big move obviously on Wipro. Infosys, I think as well, has also moved to high point of the day, but this is a very sharp move that you're seeing on Wipro right now. So it'll be clearly something that you can't miss right now.
Yeah, big move on that stock. Obviously, look at even Infosys, when all of these IT stocks really catching the limelight. Obviously, the action is going to be all about TCS post-market hours. But right now, we do need to take a very quick break. As we take the break, here's a big view coming in. Morgan Stanley says that India's manufacturing sector could triple in the next 10 years. Rhythm Desai says that they are not concerned about the near-term growth issues in the country. Take a look. We take the break and come right back.
On GDP growth per se, I think there was a speaker from the previous session that cited some forecasts from various agencies, which I think he said added up to a minus 12% GDP growth, which is a 12% fall. We at Morgan Stanley completely disagree with that. Our forecast is minus 4.7% for this year. We think that the economy is coming back and coming back very quickly. We've seen a V-shaped recovery. Sanjeev mentioned rail freight, the PMIs, and so GST collections, by the way, are up year on year. So we are really not too concerned about the immediate growth prospects for India. India's manufacturing sector could triple in the next 10 years. And this comes as on the back of our view that we are entering a multipolar world, and the changes that the government has brought about in policy and in laws. So when we talk to companies abroad, when we talk to large manufacturing companies, a lot of them are eager to come to India to set up manufacturing. Lack of capex has been, I think, the biggest drag on India's growth. And what the changes do, starting with GST, then with RERA, then with the bankruptcy code, more recently with the labor laws, and I would actually also put agriculture sector, the farm law changes, and the production link incentives, is essentially address this big drag on the Indian economy, which is capex. Mentioned, our growth outlook is basically India goes back to positive growth rate, and that's what the market is looking at. And in fact, even more importantly, we have to see what happens to corporate earnings growth. People should not forget that there was a massive tax cut that was put in place in the previous fiscal, and the benefits of that tax cut will come when companies make more money, which will be in the next 12 months. It's not just stock prices; even gold prices are going up, and I dare say even property prices will go up. That's what happened in the aftermath of the global financial crisis, 12 years ago. So you have to deal with that liquidity as well. But I think there's a fundamental underpinning to this, which is that the growth outlook is a lot better in the eyes of the stock market than what forecasters are currently saying.